Okay, this video is going to show you how to most effectively use QuickBase to see where your customers are in the process and communicate effectively with the project managers at ESP. So, as soon as you log into QuickBase, it's going to take you here to your home page where you get a really good snapshot of your pipeline. So, scroll down here. As soon as you had, and obviously, this is the demo account, so we've got all zeros here, but as soon as you start selling customers and getting them pushed through each process of or each phase of the process here, you'll have numbers show up. So if you've got 5 customers that you've sold and they're all in site inspection phase, you'll see a big 5 here. When you click on it, you can drill down into who's actually in that phase, and so on for each one of these. Reason I really like this pipeline snapshot right here, and it takes you a couple months obviously to build it up, but it gives you a very good idea of where you're lacking in your work. And what I mean by that is that if you are very top heavy with numbers going on this last half of these sections, but you've got small numbers here or zeros, then you're spending too much time project managing your customers, and you need to let ESP take it over so that you can focus on filling your buckets over here. Same thing with this. If a few months from now you've been working really hard and all you've got are zeros right here, or sorry, numbers right here, and everything over here is zeros, then it could mean a couple of things. It's possible that you're not selling solid enough customers, so they keep dropping off at this phase, right? The other piece too is that maybe you are selling solid customers, but you're not getting all your docs submitted properly. So your buckets just keep getting filled here, but they stop at permitting because we can't submit and get it installed without all the proper documents. So it just gives you a very good quick view. The most effective and successful sales reps have numbers across the board right here and customers in each one of these phases, and they're continually cycling in and out. The other part here that's really nice is that you've got this calendar that shows when very important milestones are being scheduled. So things like site surveys, permit running, permit pickup, installation scheduled, PTOs, all that kind of stuff is going to show up on your calendar for your specific customers. So I recommend checking this calendar at least every Monday so that you've got a snapshot of what your week is like. However, we do often get things scheduled for next day or within a couple of days. So maybe every Monday and Wednesday, just pop onto your calendar. The only ones that I'm really all that concerned about are installations and PTOs. So I really want to know when my customers are getting installed, and I want to know when ESP is going to go and do the PTO orientation, because those both are really good times for you to go and grab referrals, knock around in the neighborhood. Those are happy moments for the customer, and so you got to take advantage of it. The other nice part about this is that once, if you go along the tabs up at the top here, the ones that you're really going to utilize the most are your jobs tab, your leads tab, and then the funding partners and funding programs. We'll do a separate video on funding partners and funding programs, but you can drill down in and see all the dealer fees, interest rates, and everything that's available to you to sell in your market. In terms of jobs, when you click on the jobs list here, it will list out individually everybody that you've sold. I'm not going to click on it, or it logs me out here right now on the demo account, but you'll see a list of everybody that you've sold. So you can kind of keep track of all your customers, if they are on hold or if they're canceled. They'll be yellow if they're on hold, or they'll be red if they're canceled. And so it gives you the ability to really just kind of stay on top of your customers. Again, as soon as you sell a deal and you've submitted all your documents clean and everything's good, you got to put some trust in ESP that they take over from there, from this phase right here on, and they push everybody through the process as quickly as possible. They're constantly in contact with them. They handle the permitting. They handle the install schedules. We don't want you having to worry about doing any of that. This right here is your specialty, which is selling them and getting them solid. And so we do want you to just be able to focus on that. However, if you have questions on an account, we want to make sure that you know where to get the answers. So I'm actually going to pop over into my portal here really quick into one of my jobs that I sold a couple weeks ago. His name is Michael Scott. And I can go through each one of these tabs and see where he's at in the process. So customer tab just gives basic customer info. Messages tab, this right here is what we want all of you to use to communicate with the project managers at ESP. So rather than sending out emails and maybe they're getting lost in the cyberspace, what happens here is if I add a message, it allows me to type out what I want, It allows me to pick a drop down for what the category is. If I want a response from ESP, yes. If all it is that I'm uploading utility bills or missing docs, I can just pop it in there. I don't need a response from ESP on that. But anything that requires a response, if you have a question about something, like, hey, this customer just called, they really want to do a ground mount system instead, is that something that we can switch to? Click right here for yes. Please give me a response on it. And then the nice part is that ESP, these project managers, are being scored based on how quickly they respond to these messages. So you are going to get messages back. I plan on getting a message back within 12 hours typically. If it's going longer than that, then obviously you got to reach out to your manager just to make sure that message is getting through clearly. But you'll get a very quick response in the messages tab. Project acceptance. This is basically saying, okay, you sold this customer, and here are all the docs that we need in order to get this account pushed forward. So you can kind of go through here. We got these nice green bubbles that tell you, yep, we're good to go. Got a very ugly hazard sign here if you're missing something. I just submitted this bill yesterday, so that will be uploaded, and no problem there moving the account forward. Yeah, you can feel free to scroll down here. It lets you know when the finance was submitted to the finance partner, when it got approved, depending on the lender. Some of them happen literally within hours. Some of them take up to a week to get finance approval. Next here is site survey and design. So this helps you to know that the customer was actually on the schedule and that it got completed. It also lets you know what kind of details they found from the site survey. So you can come here and check if you have questions, if you don't know whether or not it actually did get completed and the customer's calling, they were out of town or whatever when we did it, you can just pop right in here and say, oh, yep, looks like it was completed, got done on the 15th, everything's good to go. And then it's also going to let you know when engineering is completed. So in this situation, site survey happened on the 15th, and then full engineering got done just 3 days after that, which is great. Engineering plans, you can click on this. I'm not going to do it, or again, it'll log me out. But if you click on this right here, it'll pop you into a CAD of the customer's house. So it'll show you the plan set, the layout of the panels, that kind of stuff. So if for whatever reason the customer didn't receive the email that automatically generates to them once the plan is done, you can pull it out of here, screenshot it, send it over to them, or just for your information, you can look there too. This stuff I always like to read engineering notes if I've got a question on whether or not it's going to require an MPU and why. If there's an adder that I wasn't quite sure about. Obviously, you can always message the project managers from that tab, but you can also look under here and see what's going on. So you can find out a whole lot of details about that. Next is the NEM and rebate. For Las Vegas, obviously we have to submit for a rebate reservation. And so that's going to show when it was submitted, how long it's been. Obviously, it typically takes up to 30 days to get those approved. And so this helps you to kind of keep track of it. And then it also lets us know if we had to do a meter spot, which we typically do in most situations. Permitting. So permitting lets me know when a permit was submitted, and then if anything, if there are any errors or any corrections that had to take place. So I know for this customer, sold them on the 15th. They were site surveyed 3 days later, and now we've already got the permit submitted in less than a week from the time that I sold them, which is a really good timeline. I also can tell on this one that, oh shoot, we had to submit for corrections because the city of Oxnard, California is the worst possible place to submit a permit. So, but the really cool part is I can see that we submitted it. We had a correction kicked back. We already have a pickup date for next week. So on the 4th, we're going to be able to go and pick up the permit so we can schedule installation. Installation tab gives me obviously information on whether or not the account has been scheduled for install. So I can see that we've already actually scheduled an install date for the 5th, which is the day after permit pickup. So that's actually pretty awesome. And lets me know the time. This is good information. Again, you're going to want to drill down into this because although the project managers are keeping very good contact with your customers, we very much recommend that you also do as well. Anytime they ask you for project updates, I typically say, oh, well, ESP reaches out to you. Just make sure you check your emails, check your phone calls, that kind of thing. But it's good for you if for whatever reason you need to dig in really quick, you can dig in and let them know what's going on. I try to stay out of project management as much as I possibly can because I find that oftentimes there's things that I don't really know that are going on that ESP is already taken care of. and I don't want to muddy the waters. They keep the customers very happy, and my job is just to make sure that they're still stoked and moving forward and giving me referrals. Permit inspection. So as soon as the account gets installed, the permit inspection date is going to show up here, whether or not it all went well. And then PTO is going to show up right here as well. So as soon as the permit inspection takes place, we'll put it in the queue to get permission to operate and get that kickback from the utility. And then we're also going to have a work order that'll pop up here for a date and time. So the nice part about that is that it's going to show when ESP is scheduled to go to the customer's house and basically do an orientation for them on their system. At that phase, what they do is they just go show them the inverter. They show them how to turn it on. They show them how to flip the breakers, where the shutoff valves are, all that kind of stuff. And it allows the customer just a little bit more understanding and control of their system. And then they also show them on the inverter where they can see the count of the panels, whether they're working, putting energy into the grid or taking from the grid, that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff that they're able to show the customer, so they feel again like they're in more control of their system. They're also going to set up the monitoring app for them for the SolarEdge monitoring portal. They give them a login to it, help them set it up on their phone so that they can actively monitor their system as well. So that's about it on project management. There's a lot of really good drill down resources here. Please take advantage of it. We want to make sure that we're empowering all of you to be autonomous in your job and that you're able to have trust in the back end process here, that everything's getting pushed through as quickly as possible so you can focus on making more sales.